Subscribe to my YouTube channel, share it with your friends, and comment your thoughts. The storage room door slammed, shut slam. The door shut so hard it shook the walls. Metal echoed against metal. The sudden silence that followed was worse than the bang itself. Mira froze. There was no mistaking that sound. It was the cafeteria storage room door, and it had just locked. From the outside, her hand was still reaching toward the small, dangling chain, her mother's necklace, when the lights flickered once, then steadied, casting a weak, yellow glow on the cement floor. The necklace swung gently above her head, hooked mockingly over a high pipe. She didn't cry, she didn't scream, she listened. Outside, footsteps faded, laughter drifted through the thick door. She looked like she was gonna pee herself. "I told you she'd fall for it. Did you see her face when we took the necklace?" Then they were gone. The heavy silence returned, wrapping around Mira like a cold blanket. She stepped back slowly, her boots crunching on loose debris. The storage room was narrow, lined with old folding chairs, broken science equipment, and dusty gym mats. It smelled like rust, mold, and bleach. A place no one checked, a perfect trap. Her pulse steadied. She lowered her bag, sat on her heels and closed her eyes. 3 seconds in, 3 seconds out. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. Control the breath, control the mind. A whisper from long ago echoed in her memory. Her mother's voice, always breathe before the storm. Just 30 minutes earlier, Mira had sat alone at the far end of the cafeteria. She always did. Head down, hood up, earbuds in, even if they weren't playing anything. The less attention she drew, the better. That was the plan. Always the plan. But today, the plan failed. Today, Tasha noticed her. "Hey, new girl," Tasha said sweetly, plopping down across from Mira. "You eat like a mouse." Mira looked up. 3 others flanked Tasha. Kylie, Nia, and Jason. School royalty, fake smiles, cruel eyes. "Is it true you got kicked out of your last school?" Kylie chimed in. "I heard she broke a kid's arm," said Nia. "No," Jason smirked. "She broke his ribs, supposedly." Mira said nothing. She chewed her sandwich slowly, eyes fixed on her tray. Tasha tilted her head. "What's in the box?" she asked, eyeing the small, wrapped package tucked carefully beside Mira's lunch. Mira instinctively moved her arm over it. "Nothing, just private." Tasha smiled wider. "Oh, now I'm really curious." She reached across the table and snatched it. "No!" Mira stood up so fast her chair screeched back. "Don't—" But it was too late. Tasha unwrapped it. A delicate gold chain spilled into her palm, with a small jade pendant at the center. Old, worn smooth from time. "Oh, it's just a necklace," she said mockingly. "This what your boyfriend gave you." Mira's voice dropped. "Put it back." Jason leaned closer. "She's shaking. You okay, killer?" Mira snatched the necklace, but Tasha grabbed her wrist. That's when Mira's training surged forward. Instinct, reflex. Her left hand moved, twisting Tasha's grip just enough to slip free without causing damage. But that one move was enough. The girls froze. "You see that?" Kylie whispered. "She's one of those freaks." Jason leaned in. "Martial arts or something." That was when Tasha smiled again. "Let's play a game." 10 minutes later, Mira was standing in the corridor outside the kitchen, clutching a note Jason had dropped in front of her. "We're sorry. Found your necklace. Storage room. Come alone." She knew it was a trap. She went anyway. Back in the present, inside the locked room, Mira stood beneath the dangling necklace. They hadn't broken it. That was the only mercy they showed. They hung it there as a joke, to show her who was in control. Her fingers itched, her chest burned, but she breathed again. Inhale, exhale. Then she stepped forward, examined the walls. Solid brick, no loose panels. She scanned the room's ceiling. A single vent too small to crawl through. The high window had metal bars. No way out. Not a normal way, at least. Her eyes landed on a long wooden broom handle near the utility sink. Old, splintered, but straight. She picked it up, tested the weight. balanced it in both hands. Her body remembered what her heart tried to forget. Flashback. Age 9. Her mother stood barefoot on a gym mat, arms folded. "You can't run every time they tease you. I don't want to fight. You don't have to fight," her mother said. "You have to finish it." She tossed a staff at Mira's feet. "Let's begin." Mira placed the stick on the ground, then began stacking old chairs under the necklace. They wobbled dangerously, but she moved fast. In 3 careful steps, she climbed the stack, reached up, and grabbed the necklace. As her fingers closed around the jade, she whispered, "I'm sorry, Mom." Then the chairs gave way. She fell hard, rolled, hit her shoulder, but she was holding the necklace. She didn't cry. She stood. She faced the door. Then she began to turn the broom handle into a weapon. She broke it across her knee, snapped the bottom into a sharp edge using the shelf, and wrapped it with fabric from her hoodie sleeve for grip. She was ready. Outside, Jason shifted uneasily. "We should open it now. Seriously." "Relax," Tasha said. "She'll be fine. You think she'll say anything?" "She might," Nia said. "She looked like she was gonna snap." Tasha scoffed. "That's what people say when they don't have the guts to fight back. She's all bark." Jason stood. "I'm letting her out. I'm not getting expelled over this." But just as he reached the door, boom! It flung open. Jason stumbled back. Dust clouded the hallway, and out of the haze stepped Mira, blood on her shoulder. Necklace clutched in one hand, the broken staff gripped in the other like a spear. She stared directly at Tasha. No words, no emotion, just fire in her eyes. Tasha's mouth opened. "What the—" Mira dropped the wooden spear at her feet. It clattered, loudly. "I could have hurt you," she said, calm and cold, "but I didn't." She turned and walked away. No one followed. No one laughed. But Mira wasn't done, not even close. Because what they didn't know, what none of them knew, was that this wasn't the first time she'd been targeted, and last time someone ended up in the hospital. This time, she wasn't going to wait until it got that far. Someone was watching. The hallway was silent as Mira walked away from the cafeteria storage room. Her shoulder throbbed where she had landed on it. Blood trickled down her arm, but she didn't stop. The necklace was wrapped tightly in her fist, like a lifeline. The jagged edges of the broken wooden pole she had used as a spear remained behind, still lying at Tasha's feet. She didn't turn back. She knew if she did, she wouldn't walk away. At all. She wasn't ready for that yet. Mira headed straight to the nurse's office, not because she trusted the school staff, but because she needed to document the injury. She needed a record. That was the first rule her mother taught her when trouble started. If they make the first move, let the system see it. Not for pity, for power. The school nurse, Mrs. Alvarez, barely raised an eyebrow when Mira walked in, her hoodie torn, blood on her shirt. "What happened?" she asked flatly. "I tripped." "In the storage room," Mira said, voice calm. Mrs. Alvarez sighed, motioned her to sit, and started cleaning the wound. "Not the first student to get hurt in that place. You kids should know better." Mira stared at the wall, silent. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. She didn't check it right away. But she had a feeling. Later, in the bathroom alone, Mira unlocked her screen. One new message. From a blocked number. A video. She pressed play. Grainy footage from a phone camera. Herself, standing frozen in the cafeteria, surrounded by Tasha and the others. The moment Tasha pulled the necklace from the box. The short scuffle. Mira's hand twisting out of Tasha's grip, then Tasha walking off with the necklace. No sound, just video. A second message followed. "You're not crazy. I saw everything." Mira stared at the screen. Who sent this? And more importantly, why? At lunch the next day, Tasha and her group acted like nothing had happened. They laughed louder than usual, whispered behind cupped hands when Mira passed. But Mira noticed the difference in their eyes. The confidence was cracked. Jason wouldn't meet her gaze. Even Nia flinched when their eyes met. Only Tasha kept smiling, fake, bright, dangerous. In the library that afternoon, Mira sat alone in the far corner, pretending to study. But her mind wasn't on her textbooks. She replayed the video in her head again and again. Who filmed it? She didn't trust easily. The last time someone tried to help, it ended with her in the principal's office, accused of being the aggressor. But someone was watching, and whoever it was, they knew the truth. That evening, as she walked home, she heard footsteps behind her. She slowed, listened, matched pace. A bit too close, deliberate. Her fingers curled into fists. She turned sharply. No one. But then a whisper, soft from the shadows near the trees. Nice move with the broomstick. Mira didn't react. A figure stepped out. A boy, maybe 16. Tall, hoodie up, hands in pockets, pale eyes, calm expression. "I'm not here to mess with you," he said. "Name's Evan." She stared at him, silent. He held up his phone. "I sent you the video." Her eyes narrowed. "Why?" He shrugged. "Because I don't like fakes. Tasha's crew thinks no one's watching. They're wrong." Mira didn't respond. Evan glanced around. "I saw them lead you to the storage room, saw the necklace, saw your landing. You filming me?" she asked. "Filming them," he said. "You were the bonus." Still, Mira didn't relax. "And now what? You want something?" "I want in." Mira raised an eyebrow. Evan smirked. "You've got something they don't. Discipline, control, fire. You don't even know me." "No, but I've seen enough to know this. You're not the victim they think you are." Mira didn't answer. She just turned and walked away. But that night, lying in bed, she couldn't stop thinking about what he said. Not because she believed him, but because for the first time, someone had seen the real her and wasn't afraid. The next day, Tasha struck again. This time it wasn't physical, it was psychological. Printed flyers taped around the hallways, the lockers, the gym doors. "New girl has anger issues. Watch your jaw." Photoshopped images of Mira breaking things, with captions like "killer kick" and "martial arts maniac." Some students laughed, others stared at her differently. Mira took down one flyer, read it carefully, then crumpled it in her fist. She didn't cry, she didn't yell. She just walked to the nearest security camera, looked directly into the lens, and nodded. Evan found her during the lunch break, leaning against the back wall of the gym. "Bold move," he said, tossing her a small flash drive. "Here's the footage from this morning. You're in the clear." Mira eyed him. "You have access to the cameras?" "I have access to everything." Now she was curious. "Why are you helping me?" He paused, then said, "Because I know what it's like when people push too far." He didn't explain more. He didn't need to. Mira knew that kind of pain when she saw it. Quiet, heavy, old. They weren't friends, not yet. But maybe they were something close. That afternoon, Mira did something she hadn't done in years. She went to the after-school martial arts gym, a rundown building 3 blocks from her house. She hadn't been back since the incident, since the fight that got her expelled from her last school. But the moment she stepped onto the mat, barefoot, everything came rushing back. The balance, the silence, the control. The instructor, an older woman named Rana, looked up in surprise. "I thought you gave this up," she said. Mira tied back her hair. "I need to remember who I am." Flashback, age 14. 3 boys cornered her behind the old school library. One had a bat, the others were laughing. She warned them once. They didn't listen. When it was over, one had a dislocated shoulder. Another had a fractured wrist. Mira walked away with bruises and a reputation. Her mother pulled her out of school the next day. She never returned. Now, back on the mat, Mira faced her instructor. They sparred. Mira's body moved before she thought. Graceful, brutal, precise. Sweat poured. Her limbs ached. Her lungs burned. But inside, something was waking up. Not the rage, the control. Later that night, as she left the gym, she received another message. "They're planning something bigger. Tasha doesn't lose quietly." Attached, a screenshot of A private group chat. Tasha, tomorrow we end this. Storage was just a warm-up. Nia, you sure she won't fight back? Jason, she already did. You didn't see her face. She's not normal. Tasha, exactly, and that's why she has to go. Mira stared at the screen. No fear, just clarity. This wasn't bullying anymore. This was war. The trap inside the trap. The sun hadn't even fully risen when Mira sat by. The window, fully dressed, her backpack already packed. Today wasn't an ordinary school day. Today they would strike again. But this time, Mira wouldn't walk blindly into their trap. She would walk in ready. Her phone buzzed with a single message. From Evan. They're meeting at 10:20 behind the tech wing. You'll accidentally run into them at 10:23. Attached was a rough sketch of the back lot and a list of which security cameras would be turned off, and for how long. Evan wasn't just a quiet kid with good instincts. He was a planner. Mira made her way through the school morning like nothing was wrong, but inside she felt it, the storm gathering, the uneasiness in the halls, the way people looked at her and whispered. News of the flyers had spread. Rumors twisted faster than facts. Some thought she was dangerous, some were scared, some were thrilled at the drama, but none of them knew what was coming, not like she did. At exactly 10:23 a.m., Mira stepped out behind the tech wing, just as planned. The area was quiet. No students, no teachers, just cement walls and dumpsters. At first glance, empty, but Mira knew better. She kept her pace steady, her posture casual. Then she heard the voice. You just don't know when to stay quiet, do you? Tasha stepped out from behind a wall, flanked by Nia and Jason, but they weren't alone this time. A fourth figure emerged, a senior named Logan, big, built like a linebacker. Known for being Tasha's muscle in serious situations, Mira's. Eyes flicked between them, 4 against 1, exactly how they wanted it. She dropped her backpack slowly. Tasha smiled wide. Surprised? You shouldn't be. Jason shifted uncomfortably. We shouldn't hurt her, just scare her. Tasha scoffed. It's not about hurting. It's about sending a message. Nia spoke up, quieter. She didn't tell anyone. The D. School still thinks it was just a fall. Mira finally spoke. You should have left it at that. Logan cracked his knuckles. You gonna do your little kung fu dance again? Mira's expression didn't change. Inside, she was reading them. Logan, slow but strong. Nia, anxious. Jason, unsure. Tasha, dangerous but reckless. She had trained for this, not just to fight, to think under pressure, to finish things clean. Still, she knew fighting them here could ruin everything. She didn't want revenge. She wanted proof. That's why she planted the pin camera inside her hoodie's drawstring. That's why Evan had hacked the security feed to reroute the footage. And that's why Mira wasn't going to throw the first punch. She just needed them to cross the line. Tasha stepped closer. You think you're so smart, so scary, but you're just a scared little girl who got lucky once. Mira stared. You're right. That threw Tasha for a second. Then Mira added, I was lucky, because next time, I won't hold back. That did it. Tasha slapped her. The sharp crack echoed in the narrow alley. Jason flinched. Nia gasped. Mira didn't move. Her face turned slightly with the hit, then slowly back to center. Still calm. Still breathing. Tasha's hand trembled slightly. Mira's voice was ice. Now it's on camera. From behind the fence, Evan was filming too, just in case the camera in Mira's hoodie got damaged. He watched, heart pounding, as Logan stepped forward and shoved Mira against the wall. But just as he raised his hand to swing, Mira moved, fast, effortless. Logan's arm was deflected, his wrist twisted, his knees knocked out from under him. He collapsed sideways, winded and groaning. Tasha lunged, screaming. Mira ducked, grabbed her hoodie mid-swing, spun, and used Tasha's own momentum to throw her flat on the ground. Jason stepped back. I didn't sign up for this. Nia looked frozen in place. Mira didn't touch them. She just stood tall over Tasha, who was now coughing and spitting dust. No bruises, Mira said. No breaks, just humiliation. That's the difference between you and me. Tasha looked up, eyes wide with rage. You're finished, she hissed. No, Mira said. You are. 5 minutes later, the principal's voice boomed across the school intercom. Mira Rai, please report to the office immediately. She didn't flinch. She had expected this. She picked up her bag, adjusted her hoodie, and walked calmly to the main building. In the office, Principal Owens sat behind his desk, a stone-faced Tasha at his side. Naya and Jason were seated too, silent. Nurse dabbed at Logan's scraped elbow. Mira entered quietly, sat down. Principal Owens raised an eyebrow. We have an incident, he said. You were seen fighting with other students behind the tech wing. We take these things seriously. Mira looked him dead in the eye. Would you like to see the footage? Principal Owens blinked. Footage? She reached into her pocket, pulled out the flash drive Evan had prepared, downloaded from both her camera and his phone, labeled, timed, clear. I brought evidence. 10 minutes later, the office was silent, except for the sound of the video. It showed everything, from Tasha's threats to Logan's shove to Mira's precise defensive responses. It even caught Tasha's slap and Jason's hesitation. Mira never struck first, never escalated. Principal Owens leaned back slowly. Well, he muttered, that changes things. Tasha shot up. You can't be serious. She attacked us. She defended herself, he said, eyes hard. And it's all recorded. You ambushed her twice. There are messages, witnesses, footage. His gaze turned sharp. Tasha Bryant, Jason Cooper, Nia Simmons, Logan Mercer. You're all suspended pending a full investigation. You may be facing expulsion. Tasha's mouth dropped open. But she's not normal. She's dangerous. Mira stood. You're not wrong, Tasha turned sharply. What? I'm not normal, Mira said, calm and clear. I'm trained. I've been trained my whole life to stay in control, to not fight unless it's the last option. You tested that. You failed. She turned to leave. Principal Owens called after her. Mira, just 1 second. She stopped. He hesitated, then added, Why didn't you come to us earlier? Mira's answer was soft, but sharp, because last time I did, no one listened. That night, Evan sat beside Mira at the back of the gym bleachers, no one else around. He handed her a soda. Well, that was a show. Mira sipped it quietly. I don't like attention, she said. Evan smirked. Too late for that. She didn't argue. He glanced at her. They won't come after you again. Not after today. Maybe not here, Mira said, but people like that. They don't always disappear. They resurface, different faces. Same poison. He nodded slowly. So what now? She looked at the necklace around her neck. The jade still gleamed under the gym lights. Now, she said, I don't hide anymore. The wounds, they can't see it, had been 3 days since the fight. 3 days since Tasha, Jason, Nia, and Logan were suspended. 3 days since Mira exposed everything. Yet instead of relief, Mira felt something else growing in the silence. Uncertainty. The school buzzed like a shaken hive. Some kids whispered when Mira walked by. Others stared with wide eyes, stepping out of her way like she was radioactive. Is it true? She beat 4 people alone. Dude, she's like military trained. I heard she snapped a guy's wrist. None of them got it right. But none of them dared to ask either, and no one sat beside her at lunch, except Evan. You've become a legend, he said, poking at his sandwich. The cafeteria is terrified of you. Mira didn't look up. I didn't ask for that. Evan's voice lowered. You didn't have to. People see power, even when you're quiet. She took a slow breath. They don't see power. They see danger. The truth was, the bullies were gone. But the damage remained. Every glance, every hushed voice reminded Mira she was alone. Feared, misunderstood. Even some teachers treated her differently now, calling on her less, watching her more. She had defended herself, she had exposed the truth, but somehow she was still being punished. That afternoon, Mira found herself at the old dojo, the one she hadn't entered since the showdown. Master Rana watched her quietly from the corner as Mira struck the punching bag over and over. Thud, thud, thud. Controlled, precise, but tense. "You're not fighting the bag," Rana said gently. Mira froze. "You're fighting something deeper, something you won't name." Mira lowered her fists. Rana walked closer. "You did what you were trained to do, but now comes the harder part." Mira looked at her. "What's that?" "Healing the wounds you never let bleed." That night, Mira sat on her bed staring at her phone. A message sat unsent, half-typed. "Mom, I need to talk to you. About everything," but she couldn't send it. Not yet. Her mother had been the one to train her. Discipline, self-control, no emotional weakness. But lately Mira wasn't sure if that strength had made her powerful, or just numb. The next day at school, Principal Owens called her in again, not for punishment, for protection. "We received an anonymous email last night," he said, sliding a printed screenshot across his desk. The message was simple. "Mira Rai isn't safe. Watch your back." No name, no origin, but the implication was clear. Someone else was watching, someone who didn't like what she did. Mira's gut went cold. "Do you know who sent this?" the principal asked. She shook her head, but deep down something told her this wasn't over. Later that day, in the hallway, she found a folded piece of paper shoved into her locker. "You took down Tasha, but there's someone bigger, and he's not afraid of your little kicks." No signature, just a single scribbled name at the bottom. Roth. Mira stared at it. She'd never heard that name before, but Evan had. When she showed him the note, his face darkened. "You don't mess with Roth," he said quietly. "He's not like Tasha. He's underground, older, connected, expelled last year, but still pulling strings." Mira frowned. "Why would he care about me?" "Because you just challenged the system he runs from the shadows." Evan took her to the abandoned storage lot behind the field. It wasn't on the school map. It looked like trash and forgotten fencing, but inside, behind a locked door and old gym mats, were walls covered in photos, students, names, blackmail material. A web of secrets. "Roth's network," Evan said. "He collects leverage, uses it to control people. And now, your name's probably on that board." Mira stared at the chaos. "This is why you film everything," she murmured. Evan nodded. "Because the ones in power rewrite the truth if you don't." That night, Mira couldn't sleep, not because she was scared, but because she was starting to realize this fight was never just about Tasha. It was bigger. It was about control, fear, systems that crushed the weak and hid behind fake smiles. And Mira had cracked their surface. Now they wanted to silence her. The next morning she found her house gate wide open. A rock lay on the porch. Tied to it was another note. "Step out of line again, and next time it won't be a warning." She picked it up calmly. No fear on her face, but inside something was shifting, something sharper than fear. Resolve. She returned to the school that day with her hair tied back tightly, wearing the same jacket she'd worn during the first attack. Some students stared, some whispered, but some, just a few, nodded, acknowledging her. Respect, not fear. In the gym, she met Evan again. "There's one thing Roth doesn't expect," he said, handing her a file. "What's that?" "Someone who's not afraid of being seen." Inside the file were records, disciplinary complaints, photos, even a confession from one of Roth's former enforcers, enough to shake the system. "You want to go public?" Mira asked. Evan nodded. "Not just for you, for everyone he's silenced." Mira looked down at the file, then back at him. "No, not yet," Evan frowned. "Why?" "Because exposing him is just the endgame. First, we make him slip." Later that day, Mira walked right into the courtyard during peak lunch. She stood on a bench, holding up her phone. People stopped, curious, confused, waiting. She hit play, and her voice boomed through the courtyard speakers. Evan had rerouted the school's Bluetooth PA system. Some people like power because it lets them control others, but that only works if we stay scared. If we stay quiet, I'm not scared anymore, and I'm not staying quiet. I'm not the only one who's been hurt, but I will be the last one who stays silent. You know who you are, and soon everyone else will too. Silence. Then murmurs, then claps. Not loud, not wild, but real. The principal didn't stop her. Neither did the teachers, because somewhere deep down, everyone knew something was wrong. That night, another message arrived on Mira's phone. Block number. No name, just 2 words. You're next. She smiled. Not because she was unafraid, but because they were finally afraid of her. The shadow. Behind the curtain a storm was building, not the kind with thunder and rain, but whispers, rumors, secrets. Mira could feel it in the way the school moved. Like something deep was about to crack open, and she was the reason. The day after her speech in the courtyard, things changed. Some students still avoided her, but others, quiet kids who used to keep their heads down, started looking her in the eye. A few even walked up to her with nods, small thank yous, trembling but genuine. One girl slipped her a folded note in the hallway. He blackmailed my brother to steal test papers. You're brave. I wish I was. Another boy whispered at her locker, if you go after Roth, I'll help. Just don't trust anyone in the photography club. It wasn't much, but it was a start, a crack in Roth's armor. But Mira knew better than to strike too fast. Roth was a predator who thrived in silence. If she exposed him now without full proof, he'd vanish deeper, cover his tracks, and she'd lose any chance of real justice. So she planned, carefully, patiently. Evan called her late that night. His voice was low and tense. He knows we're close. Someone followed me home. Are you okay? Mira asked. Yeah, but this is getting riskier. We need something solid, something he can't erase. Mira sat silently for a moment, then said, we take the risk, but on our terms. The next day, Mira returned to the abandoned storage lot, the one where Roth's secret wall of leverage was hidden. But when she and Evan arrived, it was gone. Photos torn, strings cut, the walls stripped clean, no names, no faces, just dust and the stench of something rotten erased. Mira stared at the blank wall. He's cleaning house, Evan said grimly. We're running out of time. No, Mira said softly. He's scared. That's why he's hiding his power. She touched the wall gently. He's not deleting. He's relocating. Later that night, Mira received a message on her private email, the one only her mother and a few old trainers knew about. Subject, we finally meet, from Rothnet, shadow@protonmail.com. Body, you're clever, strong, dangerous. I like that, but you don't understand the real game. If you want truth, come alone. Saturday night, 9 p.m., the rooftop above Building C, no cameras, no tricks, or I start releasing secrets, starting with your mother's. Mira froze. Her mother, he had something on her. She reread the email 3 times. Roth was baiting her, luring her into isolation, hoping to intimidate her. But Mira wasn't, and Bottine anymore. She wasn't scared of shadows. She had become one. Saturday arrived cold and silent. Mira dressed simply, hoodie, jeans, black sneakers, no camera, no mic, just a single tracker chip sewn into her sleeve. In case things went bad, Evan would wait at a distance, watching the rooftop with binoculars, no interference unless necessary. PM, sharp. Mira stepped onto the rooftop of Building C. Roth was already there, leaning against the water tank like he owned the sky. Tall, clean-cut, with a calmness that felt wrong. Impressive, he said. Most people don't show up. I'm not most people. He smiled. I know. That's why I warned you. Mira's face didn't move. "What do you have on my mother?" He tilted his head. "Straight to business. Fine." He reached into his coat and tossed a file on the ground. Inside, surveillance photos, documents. One photo showed her mother in military uniform, standing beside someone who looked very high-ranking. "You ever wonder why she moved countries?" Roth asked. "Why she trained you like a weapon?" Mira didn't answer. She was part of a special unit, operated under silence. Things went wrong. People died. She disappeared. "You're bluffing," Mira said coldly. "Am I?" Roth smiled. "I don't bluff. I collect, and I trade." She bent, slowly picked up the file, flipping through the pages, then looked up. "Why show me this?" "Because we're not so different, you and I," Roth said. "We both understand power. We both control with silence." "No," Mira said firmly. "You control with fear. I fight with purpose." He took a step forward. "You're not scared." "I was, but you made a mistake." He narrowed his eyes. "You thought I was just trying to survive." "I'm not." She pulled a flash drive from her shoe and held it up. "This is connected to Evan's server. The second anything happens to me, the contents go public. Everything you sent, everything you've done." Roth blinked just once, then smiled. "Very clever," he clapped slowly. "You really think you've won?" "No," Mira said, "not yet, but I've cut your leash, and I've turned on the lights." The next morning, an anonymous webpage went live titled The Roth Files. It included testimonies, proof of blackmail, copies of emails, even an audio clip where Roth threatened a student with expulsion unless they stole medical records from the nurse's office. Within 2 hours, the school server crashed. By noon, Principal Owens had called an emergency staff meeting, and Roth, gone. Rumor said his family pulled him out of town. Some said he transferred overseas. Others believed he was forced into hiding. Whatever the truth, his reign ended, but the damage had already been done, not just to Mira, but to dozens of students. And as the truth came pouring out, something new happened. People began to speak up, one by one, not afraid anymore. At lunch, Mira sat at her usual table. Evan joined her, grinning. "Guess who got an apology from the principal today?" She raised an eyebrow. "You," he laughed. "No, you. He just didn't say it to your face." She smirked. Across the room, a few students waved shyly. Others approached, sharing thanks, or stories, or silence filled with understanding. Mira wasn't invisible anymore. She wasn't feared, she was respected, and more than that, she was free. Later that evening, she finally sent the message she'd been holding on to for weeks. "Mom, I need to talk to you. About who I am, and who I want to be." Her mother replied within seconds. "I've been waiting for that message. Come home." Her war was never just hers. The school hallways felt different now. The whispers were gone. No one stared at Mira like she was a freak or a threat. They looked at her like she was someone who had survived the fire and still walked upright. In the 2 weeks since the Roth expose exploded online, the school had undergone a quiet revolution. Old cliques disbanded, teachers held meetings about student safety, and kids, quiet kids, wounded kids, forgotten kids, finally spoke their truth. It didn't fix everything, but it was a start. For Mira, though the fight had left a scar, not on her body, but on her spirit, the adrenaline had faded, the high of justice had passed, and now she was left with the question she'd never dared to ask before. Who am I when I'm not fighting? That weekend, Mira stood in the kitchen as her mother stirred tea. They hadn't talked much since the day of the rooftop confrontation. Now, finally, the silence broke. "I saw the Roth site," her mom said softly. Mira nodded. "I didn't want to expose you, but I'm proud of you." Mira blinked. "What?" Her mother looked up. "You did what I never could, Mira. You faced the enemy and the truth. That takes more strength than combat ever will." Mira's throat tightened. For the first time in years, her mother looked at her not as a soldier, but as a daughter. They sat together on the porch that evening, sipping tea under the fading sky. "You were in the Army's intelligence division, weren't you?" Mira asked. Her mom nodded. "Classified missions. We were trained to read people, break patterns, gather data in silence. And when things went bad, you disappeared." Her mother's face grew still. "I did. I had to. The world doesn't protect its own when things get messy, so I ran. And I promised myself I'd raise a daughter who could survive anything." Mira looked down. "But I don't want to just survive, Mom. I want to live." Her mother reached over, squeezing her hand. "Then live, Mira. You've earned that choice." Back at school, Mira joined a new club. Not martial arts, not self-defense, but storytelling. It was Evan's idea. "Everyone's got scars," he said, "but stories turn scars into lessons." At first, Mira only listened. Other students told stories of depression, anxiety, bullying, loneliness. Some cried, some laughed. Some shook while speaking, but all of them were healing. And then, one day, Mira finally stood up. "I was trained to fight before I knew how to cry," she said, her voice steady. "I was taught to spot weakness in others, never show it in myself. I thought pain meant failure," she paused. "But lately, I've learned pain is a signal. It means you're alive. It means something matters." She looked at the group. "I spent so long hiding behind strength that I forgot how strong it is to be honest." There was a long silence, then claps, not thunderous but warm, real. She smiled. Later that day, Mira passed by a hallway where a girl was being cornered by two seniors. Her instincts surged. But before she could step in, a group of kids from the storytelling club surrounded the scene, not aggressively, but together. The seniors backed off. The girl, shaken, was led away gently. Mira stood in the distance, watching, smiling, because she wasn't the only one fighting back anymore. At home, Mira started journaling. She didn't call it a diary, too soft, but she filled pages with thoughts, questions, pain, healing. She wrote about her father, who died, on duty, about the fear she never named, about the girl in the mirror who had learned to kill, but never learned how to be held. She wrote until her hands ached, and finally, one night, she wrote a single sentence and closed the book. "I am not broken. I am becoming." Spring arrived. The trees on the school grounds turned soft green. Mira walked the halls with her shoulders no longer stiff. She didn't flinch when someone spoke her name. She didn't look over her shoulder in fear. One afternoon, Principal Owens asked to see her. "Your story," he said, "changed more lives than you know. I'm not proud of how slow I was to act, but I want your help." Mira narrowed her eyes. "With what?" "We're starting a student-led safety committee, anti-bullying mental health advocacy. You'd lead it." Mira hesitated. "I'm not a hero," she said. "No," the principal said. "You're something more dangerous than that." "What?" "You're honest." That night she stood in front of her mirror and looked at herself properly. Not the bruises, not the defense moves, not the rage, just a girl with shadows and light and a future. Mira Rai had been bullied, broken, underestimated, and tested. She had been feared, targeted, hated, and watched, but she had also been reborn, not as a weapon, not as a ghost, but as a force of change. And though the battles weren't over, she knew now. Her story was never just about pain. It was about rising after, and showing others how to rise too. The end.